A little bit of history then to put the C++ standard library in context. When C++ first came to be, there really wasn't a C++ library that came with it. Because C++ builds on C, it came with the C runtime library. So you could use printf to put information onto the screen. There were string manipulation functions like strlen, strcopy, strtalk, and so on. And at first, that's what we used. Many of us wrote our own C++ class libraries that encapsulated some of the old C runtime functionality just to have a more object-oriented experience. Then along came the Standard Template Library, STL. This is the name that many old-timers, including me, sometimes still use for the standard library, but it was a different thing than the standard library. Everything was in headers, and it was kind of revolutionary for its time. Here were a variety of collections and data structures, algorithms for working with those data structures, iterators for going across them. It was fantastic. If you learned C++ using the STL, you learned the names of the headers as ending in .h. So for example, to use the string functionality, you'd include string.h. To use something in memory management, you'd include memory.h. If you've watched the first part of this course, you'll know that string is in just something called string with no .h on the end, and that shared pointers are in something just called memory with no .h on the end. And those are the hallmarks of the standard library. The standard library is controlled by the Standards Committee and doesn't have to be implemented entirely in headers. Each compiler vendor can choose how to implement the standard library. It draws on that same spirit of the STL. Here are utilities, collections, algorithms that every application needs. It's got nothing to do with controlling nuclear reactors or issuing insurance policies. It's just the kind of stuff we all need. You'll notice that the header names don't end in .h, and also that the functions or classes that are defined in those headers are in the namespace std. So one of the things that happens when you run into really old code is it'll include, let's say, string.h and just wander around talking to strings. You need to change it to include string, and to change the namespace, either using namespace std or go around saying std : in front of all of your uses of items that are now in the standard namespace. The change from the STL to the standard library happened a long time ago. If you hear people saying STL, it's just habit. The proper name really is the standard library.